I'm Kevin Rinke, and I'd like to welcome you to Beyond the Echo. I ran for governor in Michigan. After losing that election, my desire to look at issues that are important to the state or the country grew. There is so much static. There are so many opinions. Our news stations have gotten to the point where we don't know what news is anymore. Where do you go to get real facts? This is about real perspective for you. Beyond the Echo will cut through all the smoke, all the opinions. It's not about Republicans. It's not about Democrats. It's about the issues and what are real. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Echo. I am really excited today because we have one of Michigan's finest legislators from Macomb County, Joe Aragona. And we're going to talk about some very specific things for Macomb County, but also things that affect the whole state of Michigan. And I hope you enjoy it. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yep, it's good to see you. Tell us from 10,000 feet, your history with Michigan politics and what you're doing today.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So 10,000 feet. I graduated from Oakland University back in 2011. Was going into the medical field. I got a degree in biomedical diagnostics. Was going to do a post-grad degree and kind of fell backwards into being a campaign manager, actually, during the 2012 cycle.
Who'd you campaign manage for?
So I was a campaign manager for a fellow by the name of Sean Clark. He was running in the 25th House District, which was the eastern side of Sterling Heights. And I thought I was going to go to PA school, actually. That was what my goal was. And this opportunity came up, and I thought, you know what? I'm young. This will be kind of fun. I'll do this one chapter in my life, and it'll be one of those things that I talk about at parties and barbecues and stuff. Like, well, back in my day when, while everybody's sitting around talking politics, like, well, let me tell you, when I was a campaign manager way back in the day, one of those type of things. And I just kind of never got out of it. So I was a campaign manager, staffed for a few years. At a certain point, I was like, all right, I got to go back home. I've done enough. That was about 3 years later. I became the legislative director for Tony Forlini, who's now our county clerk over in Macomb County.
I might add, arguably the best county clerk in Michigan, one of the best in the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tony Forlini's fabulous.
Absolutely. And I think that there's things that happen to you in life that you never would have planned. And I think for me, I'm a Christian. I truly think that God has a direction for you in your life, and there's times where He directs you places that you never expected to go, but then you turn around and you realize, well, that really worked out. There's things that happen to you that are for your betterment, right? And I think that it was a good thing that I actually did go to Lansing. I ended up working for Tony, because Tony, I got to tell you, working for him, he's a great guy. When you meet him, there's not a person who doesn't like him. When you work for him, he's tough on you. He kicks your butt, But I wouldn't.
That's what you get paid for, by the way.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have been successful in a number of different things after I was done working for Tony, had I not gone through kind of the tempering that was working for Tony. He when you work for him, he can be highly demanding, not in a improper way or anything like that, but he is detail oriented. He expects a lot out of you, but he guides you to say, this is why I expect what I expect out of you. And he has a high regard for his employees. He expects the best, and you're going to be the best.
For those folks that don't know Tony Forlini, he is the only clerk in Michigan that after the 20 election did a certified audit of his voter rolls. And Tony is a detail guy. The fact that he's demanding, you know what? Hard bosses are good bosses.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get your feelings hurt, you actually learn from them.
Yeah.
and it creates a higher level of expectations and a higher level of performance. So,
and Tony, he ran through a couple of staff before me because there's a couple of people who just couldn't handle
I'm
it.
sure. In my career, I've had a couple of people who couldn't handle me either.
You get it. So you get it, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I staffed for him. I after he was termed out of office, at a point I came back to Macomb County.
What did you do after Tony?
So I sold insurance for a while.
Okay.
I liked that. I liked interacting with people. I actually considered opening up my own business at that point. I was working for one of the major lines at that point. What I didn't like is being married to that one major line. So I was investigating kind of opening up my own independent type agency. I didn't want to be married to this
Sure.
one line, right? So I was looking into that, and then I actually got an offer to be the deputy supervisor in Harrison Township to help manage the day-to-day of that organization. And I
How long
like
did you do
management.
that for?
A little over 4 years.
Okay.
So I did that. And at that point, redistricting happened. And there was a new district that opened up, the 60th House District in the middle of Macomb County. And I had a few people come to me and say, you're in this district. This looks like a good one. You should run in it. And I said, no, that one, I'm not doing that. I'm sure there's other people who can do it. I really like my time in politics. I think I'm trending in a different direction at this point. I had just gone back to school. I was getting my master's degree, my MBA from Michigan State.
Go green.
Go white. I don't think this is the right time for me. And a few weeks later, again, there was a few people who came from the local party and a few others who said there's somebody who's actually going to move in to the area just to run because they want to represent this area. But why should we let somebody move in to Macomb County who's not actually from Macomb County, who we don't think really represents our values? And I said, all right, now this is a different story. I don't want to. If there's somebody who's good to run, I'll even jump in and support them. But if that person isn't emerging and we're having somebody who's just going to show up, find an address, place their name on it, then they don't really know about Macomb County, that I don't agree with. So
we've had a couple of people do that in Macomb County recently.
Well,
that moved in conveniently and apparently conveniently moved out.
Well, there was one less at the state level. How about
there
that?
You go. You guys can guess who I'm talking about because I'm not telling. Talk about that first campaign for you.
Yeah, it was interesting. It'd been a number of years since I had staffed in Lansing at that point. So kind of knocking the rust off and going around and letting people know, all right, I had staffed for Tony at one point. You're going around talking to different contacts that I had in the insurance industry saying, we've sat around having a beer here and there talking about some of the problems in the insurance industry and what the state can do about it. And you've kind of picked my brain because I've worked in Lansing before on what we can do or what kind of happens or processes that happen. I'm going to go work on those things. Can you support me? Right. So those are the different types of things you do. You get your local circle together and say, I need your support. Spread
Did you
the
win
word.
in a landslide?
Yes, the person who came out to just put their name on an address somewhere, they did it, and they did it improperly. So they actually ended up getting kicked off the ballot.
That's
which
one way
really
to win a landslide.
helped.
I was the only candidate.
Yep. So I won the primary. And
God,
then,
I wish it would have happened to me when I ran for governor.
And yeah, right. And then,
almost, we got 3 out of 5 or something like that. But
and it's a Republican-leaning district. So I won pretty handily in the general. I didn't take the general for granted. I still did the work, which really helped out. So yeah.
And what year was that?
That was 2022.
In 22. So you have, what, a total of how many years that you can serve in the House?
So you can now do 12 total years in the legislature. So I'm in the middle of my third year.
Your third year.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you plan to try and serve that whole 12 years?
I'm taking it a term at a time. There was a number of people who, you kind of alluded to this before, but it looks like there is an open seat here in the 10th Congressional. There was a number of people who approached me about that.
Are you considering that?
I did for quite a while.
That means no longer.
Yeah, in fact, I'll actually announce it right here on your show. I sat down, I talked with family and friends, prayed about it, and Kevin, it would be really cool to be Congressman in Aragona, but that's not a good enough reason to run for Congress. I think we need somebody there who understands that that's a lot of money to raise. There's a lot of changes that need to happen in Washington, and right now I think I can be more effective with Macomb County and Lansing. So,
God bless you.
I'm not going to be running for Congress.
And when I say that, God bless you for considering it. God bless you for making a decision early. And I talk about this often. We don't need pet primaries with people that can't win in general elections, or that don't think that that's their real spot. That don't think that that's their real spot. And Joe, you in Lansing, I've watched you. I don't know if you remember. I actually met you when you were clerking for Tony in Lansing.
No, actually, I don't remember.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I was with the Detroit Auto Dealers Association, and I was up in Lansing all the time. And Tony was a really good reference point. And on a couple of occasions, I met you. And have always thought that you would do a good job in Lansing. And I'm not blowing smoke at you. I'm glad you're there. Your position in Lansing seems to be rising.
Thank you.
And it's rising because you represent a key county and you make common sense decisions. So I want to ask you for Macomb County first, not the state of Michigan. What do you think right now are the three most important issues in Macomb County?
Roads is always going to be at the very top. The House Republicans passed a plan to get.
I don't want to cut you off because we're going to
Sure.
come back to each one of these.
Okay, so
But
just hit them. Just hit each one.
If you would.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and trick you or something, right? Not really. But I want to have the people understand that the role of a representative for a specific county, how you balance the needs of your county and correlate that to the needs of the state, and how you prioritize those things. Because a lot of people in Michigan love to talk politics, and quite frankly, they don't know shit about politics.
Yeah.
A lot of people are interested in understanding the process, but quite frankly, they don't know the process. And Beyond the Echo is designed to maybe cut through some of that. And that's why I wanted to have you here. And then we're going to talk about some initiatives that potentially could affect Macomb County significantly. And so if you would, give me those three.
Sure. So
we've got roads.
Specific to Macomb County,
Yep.
Roads. Second, this is specific to Macomb County because it changes a little bit about the state, and we can talk about the state as a whole, but specific to Macomb County, roads, water infrastructure, water quality. Again, I can go into kind of detail as to what that means and how that works there. But water, and then the last one, and I think this one is probably across the state, but I think it hyper focuses in Macomb County, is regulation and just a general sense of trying to be more business friendly. So if we can get this state to grow, man, Macomb County is going to be the key to that. So I think those are the three biggest things that we need to focus on in Macomb County.
Right now, you're working on trying to get a budget.
Yeah.
And Governor, I was going to call her by her nickname, Whitmer.
We'll be respectful. Governor Whitmer.
Governor Whitmer. We're keeping it clean, folks.
There you go.
A fellow Spartan, I might add.
Yes. But we're on camera. This is a G-rated.
This is a G-rated, family-centric show most of the time.
There you go.
Yeah, PG-13 on occasion, and every now and then we drop an F-bomb. But she just today came out and said the Republicans are screwing up Michigan. And they're screwing up Michigan because we don't have a budget.
Yeah.
And we're not going to have a budget.
Right.
And she's fighting certain things that she's demanding ultimately for the budget. So we've got the three things that are most important to Macomb County. What are the three things that are most important to the state right now? And Gretchen Whitmer, by the way, because she's obviously got some say in this.
And I do want to touch on that. I mean, she's calling out the Republicans today, but we have clips that our caucus has even published from a couple of weeks ago, where she's saying that, well, House Republicans and I are the ones that have actually published roads plans. She's calling out the Senate Dem. So
are you trying to tell me that politicians kind of play both sides?
Yeah, it's crazy how that works, isn't it?
Especially in Michigan and in leadership positions. Yeah, it is crazy how that works.
Yeah.
But what are the three most important things now for the state?
Again, so I think that business regulation is got to be one of the top three. We can put that as number one.
Okay.
I think that's a big one. Education, I think the education system needs to be improved. And that's a tough one too, right? Because, the Democrats seem like they want to spend more money on it. They always have somebody who has a program that they can spend money on, and okay, fine. There's always these different earmarks that they can have in the budget, which is just absolutely frustrating. Our Republican colleagues, we're trying to give parents a little bit more choice, and we're trying to give school districts a little bit more choice as to how we spend these dollars.
Well, we'll get into specifics.
Yeah. But I just want to make this point real clear. What's really going to be tough on this issue is that it's really going to come down to the local household, right? And it's very tough to help educate kids when you have there's time. I mean, my mom taught in East Detroit Public Schools. There's she can give you plenty of examples of how there's parents who just really didn't care. How many dollars or how many programs is it going to take to get those parents to care, and that's what's really tough. So, yep. But those are two big things, and water quality is another huge one. But roads, I think, is another common one. Roads is like times 10 in Macomb County because we use roads so much more. But roads throughout the state, I think, is still going to be huge.
Okay, so let's start talking about roads because it's important for Macomb County. And it's important for the state. Mm-hmm. In fact, obviously Whitmer got elected with the slogan, "Fix the damn roads." Since that time, she has created new terminology like lane miles to cover up her failure in fixing the damn roads. And I think every person in Michigan that's a citizen, as well as people that visit Michigan, look at our roads and say, "Shnikes, they're not that good."
Right.
I mean, everywhere I drive, and I'm a driver, okay? I just as soon drive than fly. Everywhere I go, the roads are better than Michigan's.
Right.
Collectively. And, you always hear about the weather, and you hear about a whole bunch of excuses. Well, Michigan's weather isn't unique to Michigan.
Right.
So roads, what's the hang up? And who's responsible for what roads in Macomb County? Because this is the nuance with people who are affected by politicians. When you say roads, they think every single road the state controls, and that's
Oh.
not the truth.
Yeah, see, that's a tough part too.
Break down what the state's responsible for in Macomb County and what the county's responsible for.
Sure. So the state has the bigger roads, such as like an M road, right? Like an M59 or an M53. So M59 would be like a Hall Road, M53 Van Dyke. Those are the ones that the state directly is responsible for.
So any road that starts with an M is a Michigan road.
Michigan road, right?
Okay.
Right.
What about I-75?
I roads, there are some state dollars, I believe, but that's mainly we're getting federal dollars for those types of roads.
Is that federal money that Michigan sends to the federal government and they turn around and send back to the state? Or is that simply out of a pool at the federal level and they look at the condition of the road and they respond to the state lobbying for federal dollars?
They're responding to dollars, and I believe how it works is they're responding to dollars they're giving us. But I believe how Governor Whitmer has done it is she's gone out and actually bonded for additional dollars, attaching.
Wasn't it
those
$9 billion
guarantees. Yeah,
that she bonded?
Yeah, those guaranteed dollars coming in to pay off those bonds. The issue with doing that, if you have a guaranteed revenue source for these bonds, you get a lower bond rate, but you're basically saying, all right, it's almost like buying a car and then saying the note is going to be paid off after the car's already broken down and in the junkyard, right? I mean, there's times where these bonds are so far out that these roads are going to have to be redone, and you're
multiple
basically
times.
Yeah.
I-696 is a great example.
Exactly. Yes, that is a great example.
And if I'm not mistaken, I-696 is the most expensive road, not only in Michigan, but America.
Yeah.
It's been redone so many times because of failures at the state level. Because when the federal government comes and gives money to a state, the state picks the contractors. The state negotiates with the contractors, correct?
Yeah.
And so regulations, DEI initiatives, all sorts of crazy rules have impacted how the roads have been built and the longevity of the roads.
And we need to have a stable funding increase. It's a free market principle if you think about it. If you have a stable funding increase, you have, all right, you're going to take whether it's an actual revenue increase from somewhere. I don't support increasing taxes. That's what I'm saying. Or it's from general fund, wherever you're finding it, but you're saying, all right, here's an extra $2 billion or $3 billion, such as what the House is proposing, without raising taxes. But you're saying you're going to have this year over year. What's going to happen in the free market? There's going to be more people saying, well, wait a minute, I can build roads. I'm going to go into road building. You're going to have more people, more contractors in that market, and that's going to bring the cost down, or at least allow for more competition, so you're not having an inflated cost. Because what's happening right now is you're having a lot of road funding with like all these ARPA dollars and everything, and then that there's this crash that's happening with road dollars,
Right.
and then maybe there's another tranche that's coming, and then you're going down. Well, nobody wants to get into road building or continue in road building in Michigan. You'd much rather go to another state or do some other type of large types of contracting if you know that funding isn't stable. We need to stabilize the funding for these free market contractors so that they're able to say, all right, we're going to enter the market. We're going to make sure that there's enough competition in this market. And that's going to be better for the taxpayer, because now the taxpayer is going to get better bang for their buck.
Well, in essence, I mean, the $9 billion bond ultimately leaves the state legislature with no choice but to increase taxes to cover that bond.
Because you got to pay it off.
You got to pay it off. And do you recall the term of the bonds?
Not off the top of my head.
So, I've talked about this previously. It's how government either intentionally grows or unintentionally grows, because we commit dollars, today dollars and future dollars, to a project, but we don't know that it completes the project. And we don't know what percentage of the project it completes. So we've got interstate roads, which they're working on. 696, again, they're doing a complete rebuild again, at least on the east side of the state.
Yeah.
You've got some work on I-75 that was just recently completed on the east side of the state. Your M roads, do we have a bunch of M roads that are currently under construction?
Yeah, I'm sure. You got to look at the MDOT site, and they'll show you like all the locations of those.
Okay.
But there's been some bonding for that as well.
There's bonding for that. And then you've got your local roads. And I bring it up because there's several tiers, folks. And when you complain about your roads, which you have a right to complain about, and at the local level, I'm going to throw this out. If you're building new city offices and fire and police buildings, but your roads stink, maybe you should not have voted to build the new city offices and the fire and police buildings and use the money to fix your roads. Now, government's going to want the new buildings, but that's where the citizens are responsible for letting their wishes be known and what they'll tolerate. And I mean, isn't that the truth, Joe?
Yeah. So I mean, it's we had a millage. I remember in Clinton Township, it was a 1 mil, and there was a number of the local electeds that really went against it and turned it down. They really turned the people against it. The issue is, if you are going to raise taxes, if there is a tax increase at the state level, so your taxes get raised, my taxes get raised, and it goes to roads, where are those dollars going?
They're not going to your local road.
Exactly.
So
for me, I live in Clinton Township. I know that if my tax dollars are going to get raised 1 mil, that 1 mil worth of road dollars is going to go to my local roads. And maybe it's not going to my exact road, but at least it's going to stay within my local township. And at least that's going to affect my home price. I mean, I think that's a good thing. So to your point, it's a better use of your tax dollar.
yes.
To stay within your local municipality.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, as you know, I am totally for eliminating the personal income tax. And it's $12 to $14 billion that goes back to the citizens. And how many taxpayers do we have in the state of Michigan?
Well, there's almost 10 billion people total
10 million,
taxpayers. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's not the number of taxpayers.
Right. How many actual taxpayers? I'm not sure.
Yeah. So the point is it's roughly, if I'm not mistaken, roughly $2,300 to $2,500 goes back to the taxpayer. And Lansing gets real nervous about that because they say it's such a big percentage of our general fund. Doesn't mean ultimately that all the taxes go away. But the reason that I want to do that is to give more power to the local governments for just the purpose that you're talking about. Water quality in Macomb County is a big issue. And it's a big issue because you collect water from Oakland County and surrounding counties, and you have to process. They clean it. It gets shipped into Macomb County. They reclean it, and it goes into our Great Lakes. And we have had all sorts of issues, but that's a county issue. And the state can only do one thing: raise taxes on everybody if the county doesn't have the money or the business structure to facilitate that.
Yeah.
So I'm a big proponent of pushing that down. Every single state that has eliminated personal income tax, overall tax revenue collection has gone up without them raising taxes. And overall collections of the counties have increased because the citizens of Macomb County, if they each get 23 or 2,500 bucks, where are they going to spend their money? Predominantly in Macomb County.
Right.
And so it's a good thing. The county can then establish a budget better to serve the people versus serving the state. So
Right.
sorry to go off on my traditional rant on eliminating the personal income tax, but it is a win for Michigan. It's been a win for every state that's done it. And I hope at some point in time I can present to you the real numbers, and then you'll take up the lead in Lansing and say, we got to repeal the personal income tax.
Oh, I'd love to. So our caucus was trying to not eliminate it, just roll it back. And
Yeah.
I mean, you would have thought that we were eliminating sunny days and kicking puppies, and the world was coming to an end, and all we were trying to do.
Well, I
was,
want to do that too.
Well,
No sunny days and kick every puppy.
All we were trying to do is roll back the income tax 0.2%. That's it, 0.2%. We thought that just getting it to instead of 4.25, I mean, there was a whole issue where if we had enough of a surplus, and we did with all the ARPA dollars coming
Right.
from the federal government, that there should be a rollback to 4.05%, which there was in 2003. That was supposed to be permanent. Obviously, our attorney general got involved, and it turned into a hot mess that all of a sudden it popped back up to 4.25%. We said, nope, let's keep this permanent. This was clearly supposed to be permanent. We should do this. Let's make this a permanent thing, that it's at 4.05%. And you would have thought that the world was coming to an end with how much pushback we got throughout Lansing out of a number of different organizations.
Well, the Democrats, by the way, in Michigan, folks, we were the only state that proposed increasing personal income taxes from 4.25% to 4.5%.
No.
The only state in America. And so it's a hot issue. And it forces government, the elimination of personal income tax forces government to work smarter, forces local municipalities to elect better people to resolve the issues that come with the responsibility of that opportunity. And again, I hope we get there. We're a long way from it. And
well, and what government needs to realize is when you do that, what you're doing is you're kind of investing in your own people, right?
Absolutely.
It's almost like when you need to tighten your own budget because you're saying, all right, I want to invest in my retirement. So I'm going to stop spending as much every week. So I'm going to take some of this money that I'm spending every week. I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it in an investment. Well, you're not just taking this money and burning it. You're putting it in an investment, and it's going to grow, and then you're going to have money in the future. It's the same type of thing that the government needs to understand, and unfortunately, Democrats just don't get it, is that we're rolling back how much money we're going to be able to spend next year. Yeah, because we're cutting the income tax. And like you said, we're going to need to now understand that we need to spend far more wisely, we need to spend taxpayer dollars wisely next year. But those dollars, we're not just burning those dollars. We're not just deciding that those dollars are going away. Where are those dollars going? They're going back into the pockets of the taxpayers. Again, where are those taxpayers going to spend those dollars? Right back in the communities. What's going to happen to those? They're going to spend them on commodities. They're going to spend it on services. All those commodities and services are getting taxed, and so we will get more tax dollars in the future.
That's why revenue, when you lower taxes, and there is example after example after example across America, when you lower taxes and you give the citizens choice, tax revenues go up.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
every dollar that goes into the community, goes into the economy, has a fee levied on it. The difference is that the citizens get to make the choices for what's important to them versus the government.
And they're better at it than the government every time.
Every time. So we've got roads, and you guys now have a brief understanding of the complexity. We don't have a solution today, but the Republicans were able to craft a program that increased road funding by $3 billion. And that's real dollars. That's not bonded money, without raising your taxes. And there's significant pushback from the Democrats. They want to leverage your money and create longer term liabilities. And there's lots of details on that, but we're going to keep moving along. You said that regulations in Macomb County and business regulations in the state were two primary issues. Can you get into what regulations you're referencing?
Yeah. Oh, geez. How much time you got? I mean, the
From 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
You can come back.
There's a number of different issues with regulation, from housing to just regular everyday regulations that we need to clean up. For instance, I'll give you a very easy one. It was actually a phone call that I was taking. So I'm the chairman of the Regulation Reform Committee. There is a regulation on the books right now. I didn't even realize it. You can't have in Michigan a boutique hotel with a liquor license.
Makes sense to me.
Right.
Because people at hotels don't drink booze.
Right, exactly. And we're trying to figure out why. Best guess is maybe it goes back because the law was actually put on the books about 100 years ago. Maybe it had something to do with, the fact that there was, brothels back then, and maybe they were trying to discourage it. Who knows? We're still trying to figure it out. But that's just, there's clearly, different types of businesses that would come in. They would be like smaller boutique hotels, such as you can see a lot of higher end things in LA, New York, that would want to come into Detroit, and they've even looked at the Detroit area and said, this could be this is kind of a bit on the rebound. Maybe we want to come in here. But clearly, if they can't get a liquor license, that is going to be very discouraging to them. We got to get regulations like that off the books. One of my colleagues, Bill G. Schutte from the Midland area, obviously I think everybody knows that name from his dad's name anyway.
I thought he owned a coffee shop.
I'm sorry? Yes. Yeah, that's exactly where you know him from. Yeah, ice cream shop.
Bill, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Don't take it personally.
But he's done a lot of work. I've met with him a few times, and we've gone through a red tape report and worked with the Department of LARA, Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, just to try and come up with a list of onerous regulations on businesses that we can eliminate or change or reduce the burden for businesses, so it's just easier for businesses to do business in the state.
Remember, all of these regulations, folks, have fees associated to them.
Yeah.
And so here's how tough it is. When President Trump talks about bringing manufacturing back to the United States, and in Michigan, we used to be a manufacturing stronghold for the whole country. How long? I want to come in and I want to put a technology manufacturing facility into a greenfield spot in Michigan. Just off the top of your cuff, how long would it take?
Long time. So
what Joe is saying is it's over 7 years, folks, to get the licensing approved currently.
And I'll tell you this.
Or longer, by the way.
And I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this on your show.
You can.
But
give us some dirt.
But
People love it.
I've heard anecdotally that there's certain permits and approvals you have to get from the different departments, right?
Right.
The department, the Deagle, we like to call it Deagle, not Eagle. There's no A, so it's Deagle or Eggle if you want.
Is that like an ego?
Yes, almost.
Almost.
Yeah. And Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, I believe, is what it stands for. They won't actually look at your permit right now for at least, I believe it's 120 days. I believe it's right around 120 days. You submit it right now, they're not even really going to do the review for roughly about 4 months.
Is that because they're so busy, or that's just what they feel like doing?
Well, not a lot of the state workers are actually in the office, so it's hard to see if they're actually busy or not, to be honest.
Oh,
So,
God, how could
yeah,
that be? Huh?
yeah,
How could that be?
right.
Um,
Again, that's just one of the things we're trying to take care of in the budget, but we'll
there's
see.
a whole bunch of things. I say, tongue in cheek, that I think the Republican legislature should repeal 100 regulations for every regulation they consider, and that we could repeal thousands of regulations that would only help the state be competitive,
Mhm.
that are holding or keeping people out of Michigan.
Yeah.
And folks, they need to be repealed versus be on the books for years and years and years, because somebody digs them up and it slows the process down.
And you also need people to keep an eye on these. You need to repeal them, or if they're being used, you need people to keep an eye on them, because there's every once in a while you'll find a regulation where the Whitmer administration will start to bend it and use it in ways it's never really been used before. And
Well, Republicans have done that
really
too.
Tough.
And that's why
I don't know
we
the
do it
extent.
less.
Yeah.
We absolutely do it less. But something in Michigan, we just lost, and Gretchen Whitmer was on the news trying to blame international instability and trying to blame Donald Trump. We lost a technology and innovation center.
Yeah. SanDisk. Yeah.
Yeah, that purportedly, now remember that the MEDC doesn't have a very good track record of predicting the number of jobs versus what the projected jobs are. But SanDisk said 9,500 people.
Yeah.
MEDC operates at about 7%. So if we got 630 out of the 9,500, they would be considering themselves successful. But aside from all that, the reason that we lost SanDisk was a couple of things that are in your top three for the state. One is regulations. It's easier to do business and faster to do business in other states that surround us. And two, we lost because of the current educational status of our public school systems. People don't want to come here if they can't generically grow their workforce from within.
Right.
All this talk about, we'll ship people in, we'll attract people from other states, sounds great. But in reality, it doubles, triples, quadruples the cost of that business's operations to bring those people in.
Exactly.
So we need to have an education system that serves the people of Michigan. And what are we doing with education?
Yeah. So the House Republicans do have an education plan to help ease some of the burdens on education, to reduce some of the regulations, to allow for more control for parents, just to allow them more input on their what happens with their kids' education. The problem is you got a lot of this, we're going to use this program, we're going to use that program, and it's a lot of these companies saying that they're hiring a lobbyist and saying, all right, this is the correct way to do it, or that's the correct way to do it, and then you kind of have a lot of this other stuff of all this like trans stuff that the Democrats want to push into the education system. It's a lot more simple than that. Is send your kids to school, math, reading, writing. That's what I was taught when I was a kid. I think I turned out all right. I mean, there's probably a couple of problems here and there, but
we all got a couple of problems.
But I can at least do those three things somewhat well. I think I can go, get another job if this one were to end tomorrow. Those are the things we need to be focusing on, not all this excess type of stuff.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, people are making it just way too complicated.
Yeah. So Michigan ranks right now 44th in reading literacy. We're trending towards 47th in reading literacy. And I talk about this every chance I get, almost on every podcast. There's a solution, and it's phonics-based reading. It's the only one that's ever worked conclusively. Is it 100%? No. It's 94% effective with every student. Phonics-based reading. Now, the state currently doesn't have the authority to mandate the requirements for education, do they, Joe?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is something we do need to look at. And by the way, I was taught phonics. I remember starting in first or second grade.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's something that clearly, I mean, that's something that my generation was taught.
It has been excluded, except, and I don't give Mike Shirkey credit often, and for a whole bunch of reasons, but Mike Shirkey actually did something smart before he left Lansing. He might have done something else, but this is the only thing I'm going to give him credit for, was he allocated several $1 million to phonics beta programs in 17 school districts. And I don't know if you're aware of this, Joe, but interestingly enough, 95% improvement in every single one of those school districts.
No, I was not aware of that number.
3.5-year average increase in grade level literacy in every one of those school districts. And it's contrary to what the education folks want to say. You know, phonics requires one-on-one. Phonics requires books over flat screens first, and then you can integrate artificial intelligence to take that and even jazz it more. But I believe, and I'd like our legislators to understand, that if you can't read, you can't write.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't read, you can't do math. If you can't read, you cannot be trained to do anything other than assembly type work, which is the lowest form of manufacturing in the process of building things. It's nothing, I'm not picking on people that are doing assembly work. What I'm talking about is an opportunity for them to better themselves. And until we fix reading, doesn't matter how much money we spend in education, until we fix reading, Michigan's going to have a problem.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm excited to hear and proud of the fact that Republicans and conservatives are looking at regulations. I'm proud of the fact that we're looking at roads and figuring out ways to fund them without raising taxes. I really hope you guys hammer down on education. It's my belief that the state has the right to demand a curriculum and to demand results. And right now, we've got a government that's eliminating all of the standardized testing, that's eliminating all of the accountability, that wants to take parents out of the mix when it relates to their children,
right,
for decisions on educating, on gender, on really what they're being taught about our country, you know. And like you, Joe, I like reading, writing, arithmetic, and I'd like there to be civics that talks about the good that America has done and that Michigan has done versus the bad. because I happen to think there's an agenda to structurally change our democratic republic, and that's not to the benefit of our country or to Michigan.
Yeah.
Water and water quality.
Can we go back to regulation for just a moment?
We can go wherever you'd like.
All right. So I do want to hit one other point on regulation. So one thing that I've been doing is sitting down with a lot of the developers for that build homes, just to see what regulations are there to try and help them just put more homes on the market. In 2025, they put about 54,000 home units on the market
In Michigan. Was that up or down from 24?
Well, so this was in 2005.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last year they put 15,000.
Thank you.
Huge delta, right?
Yeah.
Huge difference. So I simply, hey, I want to meet with you guys. I just want to learn about your industry. I asked them that question. 2005, that was the number. Last year, that was the number. What gives? What happened? They start talking about Eagle, right? They start talking, look, Eagle has been an issue. You know, there's permits that we send in, and we know we're not going to hear back for quite a while. They're not, by the way, home builders are not the ones where I'm even getting that 120-day number. There's other industries that are telling me that.
Oh, yeah.
But they're saying that, you know, Eagle takes a while, this department takes a while. It's very difficult. They're also saying that we need to take a hard look at wetland permitting, because it's very easy right now for Deagle to come out and basically say, like, all right, this area over here, yeah, this kind of looks like a wetland, so I'm going to say that this is a wetland, even though you wanted to build a home here. You were going to build 30 homes, now it looks like you're going to build 29. Well, 28. I think we're going to say that was a wetland over there. Well, think about that. If you're going to make money off of 30 homes and now you're actually going to make money off of 28 homes, that drastically changes
the price of the home.
Right.
Yeah.
And it drastically changes your bottom line for that entire development site. So that's tough. That's number one. Number two, what they've been saying is, there's some municipalities that treat them well. There's a decent amount of municipalities that don't treat them well. And they're going in, and all of a sudden, they're the ones. They had a municipality. I remember talking to one of the bigger developers in our area. And they went into a developer, and they said, all right, here we have everything in order. We've been doing this for years. Here it is. Like, okay, great. Looks like we need this road over here paved. Like, okay, but this is we're talking about the development. Like, yeah, we need the road paved. It's kind of illegal for you to ask us that. You can't really expect us to pave that road over there. We're talking about this development. That's not our road. That's your road. Yeah, well, we're going to take you to court.
We'll see in 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
3 years down the road. And that's, unfortunately, this local, there's some of my colleagues who even say, like, well, we need to focus on local control. The problem is that's local government control. We need to focus on the individual rights of people. That's what we need to do. Now, if it's a government entity that has to control something, the smaller the entity, the better. But what we really need to focus on, the first question we need to ask ourselves is, should government be controlling it at all? Should government have as much power as it does at all in whatever function we're discussing? And for any of us who are at a local level, at the state level, at the federal level, anytime we walk into a meeting, that's the very first question we should be asking.
It's such a challenge. And it's funny because for the last 3.5 years, I was doing a development in Macomb County.
No.
3.5 years. And I didn't have my permitting after 3.5 years.
Yeah.
I had water retention issues. I had wetland issues. I finally, and by the way, my development was at 60% of the capacity that zoning allowed. So it's not like I was building these monstrosities. It was medium valued housing, which would sell very well in the community, and I won't name the community
Sure. Yeah.
in this case, 60%. After 3.5 years, the costs had gone up dramatically. So I went to the county and said, I'd like to take it from 60% to 80% of what you guys have said is okay to build. Still 20% less, so I'm not overbuilding.
Right.
The county said that if I wanted to do that, they would rescind all of the permits, that they would recharge me all the fees, that we would have to go through the process again, and it would be another 3.5 to 4 years before my project. So we're now taking reasonably priced, very nice housing units and increasing the price on them because of the community
Right.
and local government by 40%.
Right.
It's just simply wrong. And then to add insult to injury, so I sold the property, closed on it a week ago to a very well-known developer, in fact, a buddy of yours, of which I will not mention his name. And to add insult to injury, I had to pay $22,500 to transfer the title,
Wow.
the transfer tax on the sale of the property that the community collects.
And we're wondering why we're having
Development problems
and a problem with housing.
and a problem with housing and a problem with affordable housing.
Yeah.
And what kills me is, you know who it hurts the most? The developers who actually give a shit.
Right.
The developers who want to put something in that's nice. Yeah, they want to make a buck, but they're employing people. They're paying taxes. They're creating opportunities. The shyster developer, those are the guys that have been very successful in a lot of places in Michigan and on the southeastern side of Michigan. Detroit, there's some shyster developers that have become multimillionaires. They just pay people off behind the scenes. But the ones who care are the ones who get the hardest because they're taking the projects that could be good and getting more grief
Right.
than what they're worth. And I hope you guys act, because these local governments are, in many instances, out of control, uncooperative, and they forget who they're serving.
Right.
You know, you can't fight City Hall because they'll F you over.
Right.
And one of the ways they do it is by delaying. One of the ways they do it is by ignoring. One of the ways they do it is they make you come to reviews 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And, it's every 60 days. You know, they're not there to serve the people.
Right.
And so, yeah, I hope you are really effective there. One of the areas that in my previous gubernatorial campaign that I talked about, we need to get rid of the regulations that are tripping up Michigan.
Yep. And some of the ones that, especially, there's municipalities across the state that, like you said, I mean, they're power tripping. Some of the more liberal ones, especially, have gone to town. I mean, there's some of them that, you bring in a development and all of a sudden they want, like, oh, all right, this is a good development. All right. You're going to put in solar panels, right? Like, you're going to put in a solar field somewhere so that you can power this development? No. Why should that be part of a development, especially here in Michigan? You can't.
We have 72 days where solar panels are effective in the state of Michigan annually. Right. 72 days.
Right. But there's some of these more liberal municipalities. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of these municipalities just go to town on some of these other regulations. But then you get these more crazy liberal ones that not only do that, they do these crazy liberal things like that. Ann Arbor, for instance, I believe Ann Arbor is the one.
Not naming names.
Not naming names. Well, but I'm going to name this one because we're both Spartans. I believe it's Ann Arbor that says that you can't do a background check if you go to rent to somebody if you're renting out your apartment or home.
Yeah.
You can't do a background check.
Yeah.
So if you're renting to a family next door, you can't do a background check on somebody. They could be a felon. You just can't do a background check. Are you kidding me right now? So it's just crazy what some of these guys have done.
Well, I think we're going to get to a point in some of our cities in Michigan where you can't do a background check when people want to borrow money from a bank.
Yeah. Well,
it's ludicrous.
I was
is where I'm going with it. It's socialism, it's communism, it's whatever you want to call it.
Last year, when we were in the minority, I was the ranking member on the housing subcommittee for economic development. And we did have that bill come before us where you can't, across the state, we couldn't have done any types of background checks. And myself and Representative Fink, who's no longer a representative, and good friend of mine, Representative Du Boyer, who's chair of oversight now, we kind of went to town on this and really exposed how ridiculous this could be. There was a number of different absolutely ridiculous bills they had, and I was excited to be part of the housing subcommittee, by the way.
Yeah.
Because that's a great subject that I thought could be very bipartisan. And the first year, it was just terrible. Now, the second part of the year, there was a different chairperson. She actually wanted to do some cooperative bipartisan work. I have to give her credit for that. She's from the Grand Rapids area. Unfortunately, the Speaker of the House just never had session day, so there was really no time to actually get any good work done. But
who's the Speaker of the House?
Back then, Joe Tate.
Yeah.
Yeah, last session was Joe Tate.
Yeah. Was he a Republican or a Democrat?
He was a Democrat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
No session days.
No, 50. How many times were we there? 54, 56. We kept wanting to do it, and
it's all the more reason we need a full-time legislature so people don't do what they're required to do. Yeah, great, crazy. Sorry, Joe.
We had a lot of work to actually do. I'm still catching up from work in reg reform that we should have done last year.
Doesn't surprise me a bit.
No, but I mean, when the Speaker of the House just doesn't want to actually meet, I don't know. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it.
Well, I'm a business guy. I'm not a politician, and I'm not even sure I like politicians. I don't like doctors either, because they imply that you're sick. I don't like going to the dentist because it implies that your teeth are bad. The politics of politics drives me nuts. I mean, I look at issues, and I think the vast majority of people in Michigan are looking for their political representatives to apply common sense versus idealism versus, far right or far left agendas.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people understand that we're going to be taxed, but let's be taxed at the appropriate amount and let's use that money wisely. Let's have businesses that can operate without being overburdened.
Right.
The days of these bad business owners and for lack of a better term, slave labor, they're over. They're gone. The closest thing to slave labor is Nike. And there's a whole bunch of people that are paying way too much for their tennis shoes.
Well, and let me give you an example on that, if you don't mind. So going back to some of the meetings I've had with some of these housing developers, one of the tough things one of the issues they're having trouble with is when you have a high density housing complex, you have an apartment building, you're building apartments, you're going to build one, you're going to rent it out. You build in all your costs, your land costs, your labor costs, your actual material costs. What's another cost you got to build in? Your taxes, right? Mm-hmm. So now this new building, how much are you actually going to be taxed? I mean, you can take your comps and stuff, but what if there hasn't been quite an apartment building like this built in this area, in this municipality in a very long time? That can be a little tough. So a lot of these developers are telling me that can be kind of a question mark, and that can make that variable on these rents
significant.
Exactly.
Hundreds of dollars a month.
Right. So that is a tough thing when you're a business owner, when there's a cost that is a big question mark. going into a project. I mean, if they could, before they put a shovel in the ground, know what that is, or at least real damn close to what that is, I think that would be leaps and bounds better than what they got. Even if it's a sizable tax. I mean, low tax is always good, but just knowing what the hell the tax is, I think a lot of these guys would really appreciate that.
Oh, there's no question about it. Government often says, well, if you don't agree with our decision, there's a process to fight it.
Yeah.
But
there's an appeals process.
There's an appeals process. And by the way, with taxes, there's an appeals process.
Right, because it costs you to appeal.
But who's paying to appeal?
Right.
What do you have to do? You have to hire attorneys. What do you have to do? You have to allocate time. What do you have to do? You have to take productive employees from your next project to try and build a case to get your butt out of trouble on the one that you just finished.
Right.
And
because if you win the appeal, you get all that money back, right? The time
No,
you don't get that back?
No. You don't get any of that back. You don't even get a credit for it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So water quality in Macomb County. You're working with Candace Miller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How's that going?
Actually, it's going better as of this last week or two. Candace is really leading the charge. Representative St. Germain out of Harrison Township, she has really taken leadership on this. So is Representative Kuhn, and I got to give him credit, a lot of credit, because he's his district covers both Macomb and Oakland County, and he is lives actually in Troy, in Oakland County.
Explain the animus there between the counties from a water perspective.
Yeah. So here's the straight stuff, if you will. When there is a wet weather event, really heavy rainfall, a lot of snow that comes down and then melts really quickly, a lot of ice that melts really quickly. You have all this water going all over southeast Michigan, goes into the drains. And if it backs up, there are certain areas where our sewer systems are combined with sanitary and like the actual sewer. So what's actually going down, your shower, your toilets, anything like that, right? So now you're combining that, and it's going into a treatment facility. The treatment facility, at a certain point, once it's getting backed up, there's too much of this wet weather event. What it's supposed to do is shock that with a bunch of chlorine, and then it actually sends it out into a drainage system. As you can imagine, that's not exactly what you're supposed to do in order for like proper lake health, right? It's kind of a you wouldn't drink that water.
Folks, and the drainage systems drain into, in this case, Lake St. Clair.
Right.
Okay.
So it's flowing
That's why
into a
you swim
natural
with
drain.
poop sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're basically just taking a bunch of it, and there's a bunch of chlorine.
It's shocked poop.
Yeah. Hopefully that works.
It's shocked poop. But
Right.
let me tell you, if a baby Ruth floats by your nose as you're doing backstroke,
Yeah.
it's kind of gross.
Right.
Yeah.
Now they're supposed to filter out solids. Hopefully they get them all. But it's an issue that Macomb County has had. We've done it in the past where we've had these combined sewer overflows. However, the county, with county drains, has invested a lot of money. They've gone for state grants. I know Candace has even reached out for federal grants because she's got a lot of connections there to say, all right, what do we qualify for? Is there any federal grants that we can get to bring those dollars back so that we can make sure that we are investing in those county drains? The local municipalities have done that. When I was on the board in Clinton Township, we spent millions of dollars ensuring that we weren't just discharging this combined sewer overflow.
That's traditionally bonded spending, correct?
It can be. It can be. There's times where we didn't. We were saying like, here's a section.
You're
we're
actually
gonna do
funding
that.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
we actually have an area where we have like this basically like a backup retention. So, if our pipes back up, instead of backing up the normal way, there's like this area. Oh shoot, I'm trying to remember where it was. I think it's down around like the 15-mile area, I want to say, is where that was. I'm going back years ago when I actually did a short stint, a part-time stint on the Clinton Township board. But there's an area where we can back up like hundreds of thousands of gallons so that we just retain it, right? Because at the end of the day, all you need to do is retain for a short period of time to allow the drain to catch up to itself, that it can go down and eventually go down to, for us, we go down to Detroit, right? So instead of overflowing or going into an area where we need to shock it or anything like that.
Yeah.
So Macomb County has invested a lot. Oakland County, on the other hand, they have not invested anything. They continue that if it overflows, it overflows. And unfortunately, it
runs downhill.
Right.
So the Oakland County water, folks, flows through Macomb County.
Right.
And that's what Joe's alluding to, and why it's important that Oakland County be responsible. They've got a different view.
Right.
And they have problems.
They also have so to your point about swimming in Lake St. Clair and a Snickers bar floating by.
Not really a Snickers bar.
Candace Miller has an interesting video on her website. I'd encourage everybody to check it out, where she's actually in a natural drain, and she's about 20 feet up from the bottom, and there's a tree there, and she's picking off like wipes that you would flush down a toilet.
Yeah.
And that's the drain that's coming from Oakland County.
Yeah.
So clearly something needs to change. What's more is Oakland County has reported straight sewer overflow discharges.
Right.
So discharges where they haven't shocked anything.
Yeah.
It's just gotten by where they literally just, there's the sewer, there's too much, they just went right into the drain and just dumped raw sewage. That's happened more than once. Well,
it happens many times a year.
Yeah. The combined sewer overflow
Yeah.
and the straight sewer overflow happens.
Yeah.
That will happen from time to time.
Yeah. We got to protect our Great Lakes.
Correct.
We have got to protect our Great Lakes.
Right.
And there's a cost to that.
Right.
But it's a county cost.
So here's where I think the state and federal government would likely need to step in. For that to change, we're talking about the drainage system in the pretty much the most populated area of Oakland County. I mean, we're talking about like southeast Oakland County.
Right.
It will be incredibly expensive for them to put in a new system. Candace Miller, I think, is just looking for her counterpart, Commissioner Nash in Oakland County, to simply recognize that there's a problem. And he continues to say, like, nope, we have a permit that if there's ever a serious wet weather event, we can discharge. Yes.
Who gives them the permit?
Eagle.
Did
you notice the theme that they're often a problem?
I was going to say, is that the same group that takes 7 years to get a permit to do something? Right.
Yeah. But they get a permit pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I do have to actually give Eagle some credit. They are taking some enforcement action as of like 2 weeks ago to say that, you know what, you guys are using this permit a little too much at this point. So I will give some credit where credit's due. But they continue to use this permit to discharge. Nash is simply saying, well, we have a permit. This is just how things are done. Everything's safe. And we're saying, no, look at how much money we're investing in Macomb County, and you guys are doing nothing. So either we're wasting a bunch of taxpayer dollars because we continue to invest to make sure we're not doing it, or you're completely complicit on saving our environment and saving our Great Lakes. One of the two, because they can't be mutually the same thing.
Right. If you carry that message to Lansing, I'm going to have my team reach out to Commissioner Nash and to Candace Miller and maybe have both of them on if they would.
I don't think he'll do it.
Oh, I don't think he will either,
Yeah,
but that's the whole point. You know what?
We've tried to get them in the same meeting together. He won't do it.
Yeah, well, I call that cowardly. I call that dereliction of duty.
I'll
I
buy
call
you a
it
beer
whole
if you
bunch
get
of
him
things.
on this couch with her.
Well, I didn't say I'd get him on the couch with her,
Oh.
but I'd like him sitting in the same room.
Well, whatever he can do. If you
yeah.
can get him in the same interview, I'd be very impressed.
Or maybe separate interviews, but I doubt for some reason that Commissioner Nash would even have the courage to talk to a concerned citizen about
Correct.
it or to educate the people.
And here's the thing, and here's why this is really something that he should. This is not us all out to get Oakland County, or this or Macomb County out to get Oakland County, or Macomb County representatives out to get Commissioner Nash. This is Commissioner Nash needs to just say that this is an issue, because it is. It's very obvious that this is an issue.
Do your job.
Correct. And Commissioner Miller, Candace Miller, I mean, what better partner to have to help try and fix this? She's not saying she just wants him to admit there's a problem and then there you go, buddy, go fix it. I'm just going to keep pummeling you in the public eye. She's willing to help him, bring him to DC. Let's go see if there's grants there. Let's go work with our partners in Lansing. Let's see if there's anything there we can do. Because at the end of the day, the more you do this, the more it's going to affect the lake health of Lake St. Clair, which is connected to the Great Lakes. It's going to affect all of our ecosystem throughout Michigan. You can't keep doing this.
Yeah, you can't. Joe, this has been great, and we haven't even scratched the surface, because I wanted to talk about the military opportunities in Macomb County. I wanted to talk about Space Force opportunities in Macomb County. A lot of good things are happening. Macomb County has one of the largest concentrations of engineers in America, and they are underutilized. We have some of the most skilled labor in skilled trades in the country. There was recently another business opportunity that Michigan lost, and we are shipping 200 Michigan residents to another state to perform the tasks that could have been done in Michigan as it relates to some submarines. You may be aware of that or not, but it was a significant business opportunity that the state botched. Again, they don't like to talk about it. With the new F-15Es that are coming to Selfridge Air Force Base, I believe that there was $5 or $15 million in the one big beautiful bill that President Trump signed to expedite the new runway. Yeah. And that's worth tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to Macomb County. A huge favor, because Selfridge was going to close.
Yep.
And so there's good things happening. The University of Michigan today just requested a special airspace use permit from Eagle. And I believe it's Eagle that controls the airspace, as well as the FAA, for military and civilian drone studies, and they're trying to create a corridor, and there's some questions about it that I would have loved to have gotten into depth with you on, but maybe that's for a different time. We've been talking for 65 minutes. I'll talk all afternoon. You've got something important to do. I just sit around and bullshit all day, so
All good. Yeah. No. Well, we'll have to do it again.
Would you come back?
Absolutely.
Did you have some fun?
I did, and we didn't even get into the fun stuff that's been breaking over at the MEDC. So that's even some of the sexy stuff that we could get into.
Oh, there's a lot to talk about, and Joe, if people want to contact you, if people have questions for you based on watching blurbs, is there a way to get a hold of you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I try and make myself, as accessible as possible.
Email address or a phone number that I can sick 'em on you? And
Yeah. My office number 517-373-1785. Joseph Aragona at house.mi.gov. I also put my cell phone number on like my social media and I think it's only on my campaign website. I don't know if it's on my official website, but yeah, if you Google my name, I'm sure you can find some contact information that way too. So
yeah. Well,
anytime you guys need me. So
I appreciate what you do for Michigan. I appreciate what you do for Macomb County. And who knows, maybe we'll have an opportunity to work at a much higher level and at a much more focused level in the future.
Sounds good.
Nobody ever knows what the future holds. So, guys, thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Echo. Kevin Rinke here and Joe Aragona in Macomb County. Have a good day. Thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Echo. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop us a comment and share the podcast with your friends. Stay connected and keep the conversation going by following us on social media. Until next time, keep exploring beyond the echo.